Hi everyone, welcome back to Sketch and Chill. I haven't made any content for a little while now. One thing and another, life gets in the way and all that. But so apologies for that. Today I just thought we'd have a look at a simple street scene, how to draw or rather sketch and paint a simple street scene in sort of basic steps really. So what you're looking at here is a street scene in Sheffield, which is in South Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. Pretty basic, as you can see. And so how do we start? Well, the first thing I usually do, as you can see, I put some basic grid lines on here just to help me with the proportions of the image. And how I do that, I just usually guess halfway down here, and the same along the top and the bottom, and put some arrows because it gives me a good idea of where to start. And these are obviously just the corners here. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing I then do is I look at the whole image and I'm thinking, well, yes, it's a rectangle, a sort of a squat rectangle, but my actual sheet of drawing paper is A4, and it's more of a narrow rectangle. So to help keep the perspective going, what I do is I will sort of draw that rectangle within here so that it corresponds, the proportions are about right. So again, just guesswork, so I'll just do a line down here, a line down there, a line down there, very rough line down there. So that rectangle more or less equates to that rectangle. It's not quite right. In fact, it should be a little bit more squat, if I'm honest. I'm being a little bit pernickety here, but anyway. So having done that, of course, I can now take my center point here, which is around about there, center is around about there, across there. Okay, so that gives me, some points to relate to. So, you could start this with pencil, of course, but I rarely bother with that. I just normally go straight into the pen. And as luck would have it, we've got a very good starting point here. The vertical line of this church just more or less happens to line up with the center of the page. So that's handy. So now I know I can start drawing that line around about there. The top of it, well, that's, what should we say? There's a quarter. So it's just above a quarter down from here. So that would be, there's a quarter, just up a bit along there. And so I can mark a point to make the beginning of the drawing. And as regards, just before I go on, you might have noticed, or you may have noticed, or not, I've drawn a white line here. Okay, that is approximately the horizon line. It's going to be near enough. We don't have to be that accurate with that. So we can sort of put that in as well if we like. Well, where is it in relation to the center point? There's the horizontal line. It's just down almost a quarter of the way down from there to there, or halfway down from there to there. So there's the halfway, not quite halfway, up a bit, along a bit. So that more or less is our horizon line. Don't have to be too fussy about this. So that's it really. That's the first step, if you like. Again, as always, keep everything nice and loose. It doesn't have to be that accurate. So there was our starting point of our church. So let's just go down there a bit. Down there a bit. See this point sticking out here. Whoops, you can't see it. That point sticking out there is about almost exactly halfway. So that's sort of handy. That's about there, isn't it? So let's just come down to there, down a bit more, and that's the horizon line, isn't it there? So the church actually goes a little bit below that, around about there. So there we are. Let's go on a bit. And that line more or less goes all the way down there. Now the roof here, the roof line, that's just above halfway, isn't it? So that's about there, up a bit. So yeah, it's round about there. You don't have to be that fussy about it. Very rough line there. That goes to about there. I'll probably insert the image of this somewhere on the left during the video, the editing stage. So this roof line goes up there, and it's in line with this bit of the church here, as you can see. So it's about there. So there we go, along there. Bob's your uncle. The rest is fairly straightforward. That's about there. Okay, let's go to the other side now of this building here, and the top of that building is more or less in line with the top of these spires. That's handy. So along there, round about there, line there, down there, and where are we? Around about there. Just guesswork, isn't it? So that line sort of comes down there like that, around in there like that, goes down all the way down there. Then this other building is something like this, and down there. You know, this won't be completely accurate. I can already see that the gap between this building and this church is that much, but on my drawing it's perhaps not quite enough, but we don't have to worry about that too much. Really, that really is the worst of it in terms of proportion. There you go, the horizon line is there, so this line comes down here, meeting up with this one here, and then we've got a row of cars, haven't we? Well, for cars, don't get too fussy about cars, just, you know, they're just boxes on wheels really, aren't they? So something approximate will be fine. Just doesn't have to be that accurate, just to give the impression. Where are we? Let's have a look. This line here, blah, blah, blah. So there's the horizon line, and trees above that, around about there. And we've got some more roofs over here, a couple of chimneys. I think there's another car further up about there. And then there's some cars on the other side. Again, we don't have to be too fussy about this. And while we're here, let's just do this pavement. That goes up there. And where does this line go to? Down here. And then the pavement goes around here, something like that. And while we're doing the pavements, let's look at this one. It goes there, and it's more or less in line with the other one, isn't it? So that could go round about there. Okay, so really, that's the worst of it done, I think. Another car here, maybe. A bit more greenery here. And now, you know, we've got the bulk of the image together there. Let's just do a little bit more of this roof here. Well, the church roof is about there, and this roof comes down here-ish, about there, and that goes up there, more or less. I'm just taking a closer look at this. It's a bit of a funny roof system here, but it doesn't matter. Who cares? That's about there, there, there. So that's pretty much the basic image put together. The rest is just a bit of detail, really. You know, like the other side of this road here, and just here. So, and then we've got all this foliage up here, which, you know, is pretty straightforward, isn't it? And we don't have to get too pedantic about that. We can worry about that when it comes to the painting stage. Okay, so I've done that fairly slowly, but it still only took me about 10-12 minutes to get to that point. Okay, so there we are. That is the basic image together now. As I say, the rest is just detail, which I'll probably do off camera and then come back in a while. So there it is, really. I've just put myself, you know, a basic grid together with these lines here. Very basic grid, just to give me a rough idea of how the whole thing sits together. Let me just do this while I'm thinking about it. There we go. So that's just that's the structure done, more or less. The rest is just bits and bobs. So as I say, I'll probably do that off camera. Okay, there it is. What else can I say? That's how I put it together. That's simple. You know, it's nothing complicated at all, really. So let's get back in a little while. Okay, so there we have it, really, as if by magic. There's all the detail put in. I mean, it looks detailed in a sort of a way, but it's not really. I've just done a few lines here and there, just to give the impression of tiling and brickwork, as you can see here. Just little bits and bobs here and there, and a few lines on the road, just to give it you know, some texture, as it were, and a few shadow lines here and there, just to bring a bit of 3D into it, as it were. And that's it really. We're ready for painting. So I guess it took me in real time about 10 to 12 minutes. Well, no, maybe a bit longer, 15, 18 minutes to do the whole thing. Without any real effort, just by drawing a few grid lines and just relating points to each other to keep it more or less in perspective, or in proportion rather. As regards perspective, this is, I guess you'd call this a single point perspective. So all the lines converge somewhere over here, I guess. I don't get too bothered about that sort of thing, as long as it looks about right, which it does. So really, there we are. We're ready for painting. So painting's the next step. So we'll get onto that shortly. Okay, I guess we're ready to do some painting now. How do we go about this? Well, it doesn't really matter. Whatever floats your boat, really. The main colours involved here, I would say raw sienna there, perhaps, on the church. Payne's grey, maybe cobalt blue for the roofs. And a sort of a burgundy red here. And, green, of course. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what colours you use. I only ever use the image here as a rough guide. So first thing we do, for me anyway, the first thing I do is the sky. You can do this any number of ways, it doesn't matter. I usually do wet on wet for the sky. Not always, sometimes I'll go wet on dry paper for a slightly different effect. But for this fairly peaceful scene here, I think we'll just do wet on wet. So we'll get some cerulean blue here. And we'll just go in. Dabbing around here and there. Less is more, of course, so that pretty much is it, I think. That will do. Using my trusty water brush here, just so much easier to do that. Might just put in a little bit of cobalt blue. Just for a bit of variation there. Yeah, that'll do. So I'll just let that dry for a few minutes. That's about dry now. So let's look at the rest of it. I really, if you take a space, let's say this church here, you see that's the burnt sienna. Is it sienna? Anyway, that's one colour, but I would really fill that whole space with that one particular colour. I mean, you can, it doesn't matter, but for me, what I normally do is just let's wet this space. In fact, let's wet this bit here as well, and this bit, and I'll just take a bit of it's raw sienna, isn't it? This one is raw sienna, I think. Bit of raw sienna, and I'm really just going to randomly put some paint on the space there, just here and there, and then I'm going to go in with a bit of red. I think it's burgundy red, I'm not sure what it is. And just here and there. And pretty much that's it for that. Maybe a little bit of blue, cobalt blue, just here and there. There's no plan here really. I'm just, you know, being fairly random. Bit of shadow there, I suppose. Purple's a colour I like to throw in here and there, just for the hell of it. A little bit of water just to get it flowing around a bit. Let's get a bigger brush here for putting the water on, so let's go straight out to these buildings here and just cover the whole area in clean water. And what should we go in with this time? Well, okay, let's do a little bit of red. Why not have a bit of yellow? Highlight some of the brickwork, perhaps. A bit more red. A bit of orange as well, I think. Why not? I mean, you know, you could just slavishly follow the colours as portrayed in the image, but there's nothing wrong with that. But then I always think, well, you know, if you're just going to slavishly copy the colours, well, you know, what's the point? I mean, just take another photograph. It's the same difference. But, as I say, it doesn't matter. Whatever you feel like doing is good, as long as the end result is reasonable. Okay, not looking too bad. What next? Let's go over on the other side here. Put some water down. Don't know what I'm going to do, but let's put some water down anyway. Trying to keep some sort of balance going with all the various colours. Let's see, a bit of purple in there maybe, and a bit of cobalt blue to go with it. Where are we? Red down there, and a bit of purple. That's all right. I think it's always worth leaving some white space as well, here and there, you know. Otherwise it looks overdone. Right. Okay, I don't want to do too much more on that actually. Maybe a little bit on the cars, perhaps. This is a nice red car, so what the heck. Bit of red here and there. Oh, this one's sort of bluey. Okay, now, really that's the building. It's pretty much done. You know, you don't need to do, or I feel as though I don't need to do any more than that, really. Having said that, I'll maybe just do a little bit under here. I'll leave it at that. Now the green side of things. Oh, just before I go into that, let's just do a little bit on here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, the green, well, you know, you can just use green, I suppose. What I usually do is, with foliage where there's a lot of leaves around like this, is I get a brush that's reasonably pointed. Let's get some green going, anything will do. And then what I do is, I think you can see that, I'm just distorting the brush hair, as you can see there. So now I can just sort of stipple on there like this to get quite a reasonably nice effect. Very random effect is what we want, and that sort of works reasonably okay. Do I need to do any more than that? I don't think I do, you know. Not really. I might just leave it like that. There's a little bit of green here, so just mix up a paler green and just put that there. And then on top of that, I think a little bit of cobalt blue, just to give the variation like this. And that's it. I'm going to leave it like that. So that's not too bad. Now what we got left? Well, not much. The road here. How do we go about doing that? Well, there's see, there's quite a lot of light patches in the road, and I want those to be apparent. So what I'll do is I'll take some Payne's grey, perhaps with a little bit of blue. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to streak across in a haphazard fashion like this, so that I'm leaving gaps. You can see the gaps there quite nicely. And that's all I need, I think. And then just to add a bit of depth and interest, I'm going to take some cobalt blue, quite thick, and I'm going to do a little bit of splatter, just to add a little bit of interest. And you know what, I don't think I should do more than that, really. Maybe just show the shadows here a little bit underneath the cars. And then you've got these posts here with shadows. And I think for the moment I'm going to leave it like that, and then I'm going to leave this to dry, and then what I'll do is I'll come back with my my grey felt tips, which range from very dark grey to very light grey, and I'll use those to maybe put a few highlights here and there. Okay, back in a while. Okay, back now with one of my felt tip brushes here. This is the not the lightest one, it's the second lightest one, and I'm using this mainly just for highlighting certain areas, shadowed areas usually, like this one, in the windows perhaps. While I was off camera, I also just took my fountain pen and went round the corners. Sorry, not the corners, the contours of the image, just to bring it out a bit. So, just carry on with this, highlighting various bits. I guess that's pretty much it. The other reason I use these pens is they're very useful for highlighting brickwork like this. When I do this, I normally use different shades of the grey. I think we're about done really on this. Don't want to overdo it. A few more bricks, and then just get the next darkest one, or slightly more dark anyway, and we'll just do a few more bricks here and there. Just adds a little bit of character to the sketch. Like so. So that's pretty much it really. Maybe the curb edge. So knowing when to stop really, I think I need to stop there. The only other thing I might do is take my Posca pen here, white gel Posca pen, and I might just highlight a few white bits here and there. What else we got? I think that's about it really, you know. You can just keep going endlessly with this. So easy to overdo it. I think that's pretty much it really. I'm going to stop there and call it finished. I might just off camera I might just do a few white gel highlights. Otherwise I think we're done, and so I hope that was useful, and as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.